This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hans, the great Jay Stevens is going to join us. But before we get to him, let's give away some tickets, shall we? I got Mammoth tickets. Let's go. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. And you'll win tickets to go see the Utah Mammoth.
When did you get Mammoth tickets?
Because we're just that awesome. Hottest ticket in town.
It
Let's
is.
go.
And the Mammoth are hot right now, too. Coming off the back end of a back-to-back. And we talked to Bill Armstrong on Tuesday, getting ready for that night's matchup against the Bruins. They end up losing to the Bruins 1-4. They have a back end of a back-to-back against the Red Wings, and they show up energized and ready to go on the road. And they got a really nice road win against the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, Jay joins us right now. Jay Stevens, how are you?
Hey, Jay.
Gentlemen, long time. Good to be back.
Oh, man, it's so
good to hear your voice.
Are you
good to
look?
hear your guys' voice.
You're a bad A hockey player, firefighter, but where are you at on Christmas music? Yes or no?
Oh man, after 10 years working in that building with FM 100, I think sometimes I'm absolutely against it, and sometimes I feel like I'm addicted to it. I don't even know how to answer that question anymore.
That's a great point. Bonneville loves their Christmas music.
Oh,
There's no doubt.
They in fact, they're talking about turning our 3 hours just into Christmas music during the season.
All day long, or all year long.
It's a moneymaker.
Scotty and I's suggestion was we'll just sing the hits.
Yeah.
We'll do 3 hours of karaoke.
Keep us employed, and we'll do whatever. Hey, Jay, so there's been an uptick with this Mammoth team, and you get the win against Detroit, but does it feel like they've kind of turned a corner? There was a dry spell there for a bit, but it feels like there's a bit of momentum brewing right now with this team.
Yeah, I feel like there is, and I kind of always felt like there always was. We just kept hitting speed bumps, and obviously losing Cooley was bad on the ice, but it was bad in the locker room too, because you just knew he was gone, and you had so much expectations out of him. But we've had other players that we've kind of considered maybe underperforming so far, guys that have been, in and out of the lineup that you'd think you'd be getting a lot more from. So I'd like to think those are like fresh legs coming off the bench, and hopefully they're more motivated guys. So you're seeing the teams kind of starting to hit some stride again, and maybe we get these guys back in. And I think things are going to be good. I don't expect us to win every game, but I think you're going to see us win games. See the Mammoth are going to win games against really good teams. And like the coach keeps talking about, we want to be in one-goal games. We want to see those games as a fan base and as a coach. They want to see the Mammoth be able to win those one-goal games. And I think the Mammoth are there. I think they're figuring it out. We just got to figure out that power play.
All right, so let's just talk about the big picture and where they currently stand now coming out of that Red Wings win. They sit with 37 points in the Central Division in the Western Conference. So in that division, they sit fourth behind Minnesota, Dallas, and Colorado. And if you just look at the West as a whole, they sit sixth, seventh behind Edmonton, Anaheim, and Vegas. So when you look at 37 points through 36 games, you look at Colorado leading the Western Conference with 55 points. Second would be Dallas at 49. How do you feel about where they're sitting right now, Jay?
Well, first off, the Western Conference is obviously the hardest conference right now. And you look at Colorado, and you wonder if they're ever going to lose a game when you watch them play. 24 wins, 2 losses in regulation all season, and 7 losses overtime. Just phenomenal hockey. Dallas, another favorite to win. And then Minnesota's doing okay. They're doing better than I thought they were going to do. And then if you bring in the Pacific in when we're talking about the West, really Utah is basically tied for a wild card spot right there. I always figured Utah would be battling St. Louis and Chicago for that wild card spot if they were at the end of the season battling. I honestly thought the Mammoth would be in a playoff spot and not battling for wild card. But then you look at craziness like Winnipeg Jets, who, should have been in the Stanley Cup final one of the last 2 years, and they're not even in the wild card right now. I think when you look at the Western Division, you look at where Utah is right now, you look at the games they're playing against, the teams they're playing against, I think things are going to be good. I think we're going to get that second part of the season. Utah's going to have more home games. We're going to see Utah climb the charts a little bit more. We're going to get healthy players back in the lineup. Hopefully tomorrow night's the last night we don't have Kerfoot in the lineup. He's practicing. He's in a regular contact jersey. So Kerfoot should be back. And that's going to add a little punch. He's a spicy player. He's fast. He really helps. So I think Utah, riding out all the roughness, and it's not an excuse, right? Because every team in the NHL goes through it. But I think they're right there where they wanted to be, not where the Utah fans wanted them to be, right? That 7-game win streak had everybody just like, we're the greatest team in the world. We're never going to lose again. Everything's right with the world. And then we got dealt a couple of hands of reality. And the NHL's a hard league. The Western Conference is a hard conference. And, our Central Division is not easy. But I think Utah is poised to still clinch that actual playoff spot, not a wild card spot.
So Hans and I were talking about this yesterday, and you've been between the pipes. How much give should that net have? Because let's be honest, it looked rough when Cooley wrapped his leg around that thing.
Yeah, man, that's such a tough question because they've been talking for years. Europe actually went to a different kind of mooring that they use to hold the net down. They have one that's actually the mooring is one part with the net, and then it just has a rubber part that's in the ice. And they're thinking that might work a little bit better, but goalies use those to stop and to start. And you'll start seeing those pop off if they're any less. Cooley's injury is a fluke. It's something that you shouldn't see in the NHL that, you'd think it was, 15, 20 pounds of pressure, that thing should pop right off. I think your knee has a lot more pressure or a lot less pressure than that to give before it pops first. So when you hit that thing right on the knee, I just don't think there's any way to pop that peg off any quicker. But yeah, it's a tough balance because that's how goalies are trained to stop their slides now and start their slides. They tuck into those pretty hard. I really hold on to my posts on certain plays where if it was any looser, it'd just pop right off, and then you're looking at delay of game penalties.
Speaking inside the net, what have you thought of Vejmelka? Kind of through this point of the season, how well do you feel like he's playing?
I would give Veggie probably a B+ or a straight B on what we saw from last year and what I expect him to be and what I think we all know he could be. Vanacek is the same thing. I've watched both these goalies very closely, and they both have different styles. And Veggie's style is very it's kind of a mix between an older style goaltender and a newer style. He's not an automatic robot, right? He doesn't look like Carey Price or, if you watched the game last night, Carter Hart for Vegas. I watched the Vegas and New Jersey game last night. Those two goalies are so technical and so automatic. They just look like robots out there, programmed to do exactly the right things. Veggie's more athletic. He's big. He plays big. I'd have to give him a B. I know he's finding his game. We're seeing him make better saves. The crazy thing is he'll make these amazing saves, and then he'll let in one that, most goalies would have had. And you think, well, that one was kind of odd, or it was a weird bounce, or a weird deflection in front of him. So a lot of it's not his fault. And believe me, I'm a goalie sympathizer, and I try to blame everybody else on the ice and maybe some people in the fans before I'll even blame a goalie. But I think Veggie would admit that he's probably at a B, and he has the potential to be an A. Like, he's a starting goalie in the NHL. There's no question. And I think you should see his statistics show that. I think his numbers should come up a bit.
I was looking at net numbers this morning between Vejmelka and Vanacek, and I saw Vanacek is at about an 87% save rate at this point, but he's only 2-7. He's 2-7 and one overtime loss in the 10 games that he's been on the ice. Does that make you nervous, just seeing a goalie 2-7 in the reserve time that he gets when he's subbing Vejmelka? Or is it just tough situations? Because I know they've put him in net a couple times on the road that were really difficult games.
Well, they're playing, and this is one of the things, and I want everybody to understand this part of it, because I get a lot of this on my show and online with the comments I get about Vanasek, because his numbers aren't great unless you look at the fact that if it's a back-to-back, Bear is kind of balancing out. He's like, hey, I think tonight we're not going to win. We're going against one of the best teams in the NHL. We're going against Dallas. We're going against Colorado, whatever, and it's a back-to-back, or even if it's a night in between, and they kind of throw Vanasek out to the Wolves and say, all right, we don't think we're going to win. We have a better shot at winning the game tomorrow, so we're going to give our starting goalie the game we think we can win, and we're going to feed you to the Wolves and put you out against a better team. And that's what Vanacek's had to deal with this year, and I think he's done decent. I've maybe seen one goal that I really thought he should have had. I think most of the time he's given up power play goals. He's given up odd man rushes. So when you look at the save percentage alone, then yeah, you're like, oh man, 87% is not an NHL goalie. But then when you look at the saves above expected, he's up there. Him and Veggie are kind of middle of the league as far as in those situations where most goalies are going to give up a goal, they'll come up with a save. They're both about 5 or 6 of those saves during the course of the season so far, where most goalies would have given up a goal. You know, you got like Swayman leading the NHL. He's got 17 of those extra saves where it should have been a goal. So it's kind of a weird stat, but it kind of gives you more of a whole picture than just a save percentage.
So do you think Bear kind of works Kerfoot slowly back into the lineup, or if you're healthy, you're out there and we're going full bore?
I think if he's healthy, he's in. I don't think they'd put him out there as a 75% guy. I think he's been 75% for the last couple of weeks. I think he's probably 97% today. They didn't skate today, so I didn't get to see any of that, but I think he's ready to go, and I think they're going to plug him right in. And I'm really interested to see where they put him, with the lines being, the lines are starting to gel a little bit more as we've seen over the last couple nights, and it's going to be interesting to see where he goes, because he's just a spark plug when you put him in there. From last year, remember, he's just a fast, fun, creative player, and that's desperately what we need right now.
One of the big moves in the offseason was J.J. Peterka. I know a lot of hopes put on J.J. Peterka. Through 36 games played, he's got 26 points on the ice, split evenly, 13 goals and 13 assists. What have you thought of J.J. Peterka's performance?
I expected more. Honestly, I think I expected a little bit more, but I also expected it didn't happen until last night, where we got to see him and Keller and Gunther on the same power play unit. Because I don't know if you guys remember, the minute we traded for Peterka, I'm like, that is the right side shot that power play unit has needed, because you've got Gunther or you got Cooley, who love to shoot from that left-hand side, just like Ovechkin. And you got Keller, one of the best passers in the NHL. You got those guys out there, and I think you get Schmaltz standing in front of the net, creating havoc, or you put Hayton, who loves to go in front of the net, or even McBain. You put one of those guys in front of the net on the power play, and you let Keller set up Gunther and Peterka on the left and right side, and you'll see Peterka's numbers come up to where we expected them to be, and I think you'll see that power play fixed. Right now they've got Keller, Schmaltz, Peterka, Gunther, and Sergachev on our power play 1, and that's the first time this season that's been the expected first power play unit, and I expect big things out of it.
So I know a lot of people are looking forward to the Olympics, but in terms of watching the future stars of the Utah Mammoth, how important is this World Junior Championships? And I guess Team Canada's got a bunch of our guys.
Yeah, they do, and it's going to be fun. They've got players that we really love watching play, and everybody's pretty excited about Caleb Denoyer. And he started off the season hurt, and it's been tough watching him try to get back into it with his junior team, but he's back. Like he's scoring a lot of goals, and you've got him, and you've got Aginla, and I think Gabe Smith's going to he has a real good chance of making that team, and then we've got Cole Baudouin on that Team Canada, and that just shows how much promise Utah has coming. And if you've never watched World Juniors before, I mean, we've looked forward to it at our house for years. It's one of our big things. my son and myself look forward to watching every year. It's so much fun. It's such good hockey and so fast. And we're going to really see Utah Mammoth prospects out there dominating. Just like, I mean, if you've watched before, you got to see when Schmaltzy and those guys were out there before doing it, and you got to really see these guys when they were young, and you saw the potential then. So if you're a Mammoth fan, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Hey, speaking of these young guys, we talked a little bit about Daniel Boot to Bill Armstrong. I want to get your perspective on him because people might not know he was a 12th overall pick back in the 2023 draft by the Arizona Coyotes, and he has been on reserve and finally called up. And when we talked to Bill, he says, no, the 6'5" body and the 210 pounds will play good against a team like the Florida Panthers, and you got to have that size. I want to kind of get your thoughts, not just about his size, but his on-ice play, because we've had quite a few minutes to see him now.
Yeah, he's definitely kind of starting to find himself here in the NHL, and I think if you've kind of paid attention to his progress in the games since he's been pulled up, he looked like he kind of belonged, and then he looked like he belongs, and now he's starting to really figure stuff out. Last night he tried a few things. He tried to walk a couple guys, which he really hadn't seen him do before, and kind of dangle through some guys. One caused a bad turnover, but that's okay. We'll let Barry yell at him for that. Those are always fun to watch anyway. But he's starting to come into his own, and that was one of my main complaints about Utah is we had too many lines that looked similar. We had too many like players. We had a bunch of small forwards up front, right? Small, creative, fast. But you have to have those bodies or you're not going to get through Florida. And now you see a guy like Boot and you're like, yep, that's going to be the mix. And when he figures it out, he's 21 now, 22, I think. He's a young kid really figuring it out. I think he's got a long future in the NHL. This year you're going to see a lot of growth, and then you're going to get some additions. Like I mentioned that Gabe Smith. I think he's a fourth-round draft pick. Probably wasn't expected to make the team. I think he ends up making the team. Cole Beaudoin. So if you put those three players together, you have a line that's currently not in the NHL or on Utah, but you'll have an entire line that can match Florida or match whoever's going to be dominant in 2 years. You're going to have that physicality. So we'll have the small, fast guys. You'll have those bodies.
I love that, Jay. Because, I've talked about that being the standard for me. Just my introduction to the NHL really was the Florida Panthers. And it's nice to hear that the Utah Mammoth could field something like that in a short period of time.
Yeah, the pieces are there. I was really surprised when they drafted again, because, again, I thought we had a lot of players that fit that size. But now you see maybe a couple of guys are going to not be here by the time Utah's good in the next 2 or 3 years before Utah's, 1 and 2 in the standings all season, just like Florida. You and I have talked about it. Like, Florida plays playoff hockey all year round, or at least they did. It's taken a toll on them. We knew it would take a toll. And it's just a physical game. You have to have that. Line one's got to be small, fast, and able to score goals. Line two should be similar, but the way Florida's built, line two is just a physical bruising line. And then you put out line three and line four that's also physical and bruising, but can also score goals. And that's kind of the key to the Stanley Cup. You got to be hard to play against. You got to antagonize and get people off their game and get in their head. And you can't do that if they're just bouncing you all over the ice. So I think Utah's done well. I think they've built the foundations there. They're going to start adding the next few pieces, and I think you'll see Utah be a really solid NHL team. And I think you're starting to see some of that this year. You'll see more of it next year, and then the year after, you're going to see Utah in that top 3 seed all the way through the season.
Hey, have you watched Shoresy?
Of course, yeah.
I asked Bill Armstrong that. He'd not even heard of it.
No, that can't be true. He might have
That's
been playing.
true.
Well, I don't know. He's got a busy life.
I know. I sent him a link to it, so hopefully he said he'll start watching it. But yeah, I found that thing a couple of weeks ago, and on these last road trips, I've binged that sucker pretty strong. So yeah, I'm all the way through it. But that's a hell of a show. Did
you go back to the start and watch Letterkenny?
Yes.
That's where you really you got to learn the whole language. That's that to me that is the perfect picture of what it was like for me as an 18-year-old kid from Utah being thrown into Manitoba, Canada, and playing with the Saskatoon boys and the Manitoba boys, and it's like, oh yeah, this is just like that for me. That's
I was going to ask you if middle of nowhere Canada hockey, if that's a pretty fair representation.
Yeah, I think it's 100%. It's 100% accurate. Maybe it's 90% accurate and 10% drama, but yeah, it's pretty accurate.
All right. Well, hey, we appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will chat again here very soon.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, guys. Good hearing from you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I know it's on Hulu. I'm sure you haven't heard of it, but it's a show it's a hockey comedy called Shoresy.
Nope.
And it is, I would say maybe not have the kids around watching it. The language is pretty aggressive, but it's really funny.
What was the other one he mentioned?
It's kind of the same guy that did Shoresy. Letterkenny, I think is the name of it. Anyway,
Letterkenny?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Is that the guys that just sit around and bash on each other?
Yep. And that's essentially what Shoresy is too, but in a hockey format.
I watched a couple of episodes of that because my best friend Chris Ward, that was his favorite show all time.
Oh, really?
It was Letterkenny.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, you got to sit around and watch it." And I'm watching. I'm like, it just didn't fit for me. I was like, this is kind of dorky, Chris. He's like, "You're an idiot." He got after me.
I think you might like the hockey version of it, though. It's pretty good.
I'll give it a try.
All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The wheel is loaded, and it's time to talk some sports. This is Sports Roulette with Hans and Scotty on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time for another edition of Sports Roulette. We take some of the big storylines, we put it on a roulette wheel, we spin it, and wherever that little ball lands is what we end up talking about. We're live today at Miki Couture in Draper. That's right, just off that 123rd South exit, or east of I-15. Real easy to find. You come on by, hang out. They're going to give you 55% any full-price blanket, 20% off the official collegiate license blankets as well. So there's so many great opportunities for you to knock Christmas out of the park. Come on down here, Miki Couture in Draper. All right, Lloyd, fired up. Let's get to that wheel.
He still loves you.
Well, Jake Retzlaff, even though he has exited and things went the way they went, Scotty, he is still interested in BYU, and he was able to put into words how some of the happenings made him feel.
Of all the chaos and all the things that's been going on, like, I've tried to not lose sight of the real relationships and the real people involved in everything. Like, and that's what BYU is to me. It's the people involved. Like, the logo is the logo, so I get to watch the Y go play, but I'm talking about the people in the building. When I'm talking about BYU, and when I'm talking about the people in the building, I'm talking about the players and I'm talking about the coaching staff. Like that group and the training staff and the strength and conditioning coaches and all those people involved over there. Like, there's a place I'm always going to have for those people in my heart, like forever, throughout life.
So, I think that his time at BYU left a good impression on him. I think that BYU still loves him.
Yeah. I
think that everybody is hoping for his best. And the way these things all went down, it was so tough, because you had really bad accusations and horrible moments that were then essentially withdrawn.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I know people are wondering, well, if he didn't do those things, then why would he leave? Well, then it came down to an honor code issue of, whatever level of intimacy you get to, and it just was tough. And then there was a multi-game suspension, and he had a hard decision he had to make.
Yeah.
And the whole thing has been really rough. I can't imagine what he's gone through emotionally and mentally. Now it's all in the past for him, because now he's looking at a college football playoff.
He's in the college football playoff. He's in the CFP, but he does have a lot of emotions and a lot of friends and guys that he'll call brothers the rest of his life.
I can't even imagine. Could you imagine
No.
being ousted or not ousted, having to choose to leave because I don't want to face the suspensions?
Yeah. Look, your playing time is so very limited in college football. Like, your time to get out on the field, you only have a minute amount of those. So you got to take advantage of as many of those opportunities. And I think BYU did everything in their power to make sure that he could find a good home, that they would be able to get him somewhere where he needs to be and give him every opportunity in the world. And he's taken advantage of that.
And, I do want to make a point on this because I'm not sitting here saying that Jake Retzlaff would have had a better record. In fact, I think it's worked out really well for BYU.
Yep.
With Bear Bachmeier and the way Bear Bachmeier has played. If Jake Retzlaff would have been on this team and they had the same record, they'd be in the college football playoffs.
Yes.
I make that very clear. If Jake Retzlaff was on this team and the outcomes were the exact same, they would be in the college football playoffs because they would have started the season ranked somewhere around 17th to 15th.
I agree wholeheartedly with that, by the way. Like, I do think, and it's not a knock on Bear, it's just, to your point, these preseason polls, it matters because that's where your first impression is of these teams.
Right.
And it affects, I know the college football playoff thing doesn't come out until the midway point of the season, but everybody's going to start with a preconceived notion of who that team is. And when you start a true freshman after a guy that you anticipated being back is no longer a part of your team, and you're going with a true freshman, in your mind, you're automatically going to knock that team down a peg or two. And it's going to take harder for that team to prove itself because in your mind, you're going, it's a freshman. He's going to come back down to earth. And it never happened. So by the time people actually started to really know and appreciate how good BYU was, they were behind the eight ball.
It was about week 3. Was it? So Portland State, after Portland State, not ranked.
Nope.
After Stanford, not
Nope.
ranked, were they?
Nope.
I think it was after at ECU that they might have cracked the top 25.
Just barely, yeah. I think they were like 23, 24.
24, right?
Yeah.
So you're 3 weeks in before you get some type of recognition.
Yep.
When if you're, let's say you start, let's just say 20. Let's put them the low end and say that they were preseason ranked number 20 because they had everybody back, including their quarterback.
Yep.
Preseason ranked number 20, you beat Portland State, Stanford, and you go and blow out ECU in Carolina.
You're top 15, if not higher.
You're top 15, if not higher. Now, by the time you get to 8-0, with wins at Colorado, West Virginia, at Arizona, a win over your rival, Utah, who was ranked, by the time you get to 8-0, you're in the top 10.
Yes. Yep. And then you lose to Texas Tech, same score, on the road, and then rebound nicely. People are like, okay, well, that was the best team out there in the Big 12. They lost on the road, and you're going to get right back to where you need to be. You would easily be a top 10 team by the time that conference championship game.
And then you would look at 2 11-1s, and they would have said both these things. But, again, it's all null and void because I don't know if Jake Retzlaff gets you to 11-1.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he throws a pick against Utah that Bear Bachmeier felt too worried about throwing.
Good. You never know.
Yeah.
All right, Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We'll wrap up this bad boy coming up next right here on The Zone.